Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from gorgeous springtime Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we have an interview with Dave Moscato
Yeah.
of American Atheists.
Yeah, he's their big honcho in charge of the PUR.
Public relations.
Right, PUR.
Yeah.
PR. Anyway.
So nice of him to come on the show, and that's coming up later.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Of course, in the meantime, there's that announcement. Not an announcement.
There's an announcement?
Well, there's we have a winner on the Facebook page
right.
Because every month we have this little T-shirt contest, right?
Right.
Well, it's not really a contest,
And it's not really every month. It started last month, but what we've
right, but we're now doing it once a month. And what happened was the first month. Okay, so the way the whole thing works is if you share one of our posts, right, on your Facebook feed, then you get entered into a drawing for a T-shirt,
right?
And each time you share, you get entered, right? Well, last month it went swimmingly. Somebody won. We sent them the T-shirt because they got right back in touch with us after we sent them a message.
And now they gleefully wear it everywhere they go.
Exactly. And this go around, the winner has not gotten back in touch with us.
Oopsie.
So apparently she doesn't want her T-shirt. And I'm just double checking, but I'm pretty sure the name was Carol.
I thought it was Carla.
Oh, Carla. It was Carla. Yep. Either Carla or Carol. Anyways, you were supposed to have received a message, and you haven't responded back. So if you're listening to us,
yeah,
you have a T-shirt on your way.
It's Carla. So Carla, if you're hearing this and you haven't checked your Facebook for a minute, get on there and get your free shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. It's incentive. The idea here, kids, is that you share stuff on your Facebook feed, and then all your friends know about us,
right? And
then you have a chance to win what I proudly declare to be a very handsome T-shirt, a very well-designed, good-looking T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I wore mine around the other day, and because it was such a nice spring day, I was driving home, and I was driving past Temple Square here in lovely Salt Lake City.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I decided to go for a walk, and then I realized, like halfway through my walk, that I was wearing my Thank God I'm Atheist T-shirt on Temple Square.
On the square itself?
Yeah.
Or on the Main Street Plaza?
Both.
Yeah. Wow.
And I got a lot of looks and then looks away. And we're going to discuss why I got that a little later, because one of my stories will explain a lot about why Mormons, when they see someone wearing a Thank God I'm Atheist T-shirt, either look and get this sort of smile on their face, this weird smile on their face, or they just look away. But then later in the day, I got what usually actually ends up happening at least once when I wear my Thank God I'm Atheist T-shirt, which is somebody came up to me and was like, "Whoa, that's a podcast? Is it funny? Oh, I got to check that out."
Oh, hey.
And I was like, "Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's my podcast."
No, I didn't say that. I just said, "Yeah, it's a really funny podcast."
All right. You avoided the douche moment of, oh yeah, I got this podcast, and it's
Anyway,
it's pretty cool. You should listen.
You should totally check it out. It's my podcast. I totally just do it every week. So you should probably check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want a free one, you can start sharing and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Or if you want to buy one, you can just go onto the Thank God I'm Atheist page.
Yeah.
And just get one.
Yeah. There's a store there.
You can choose
buy it.
your size.
Well, yeah.
And everything.
And if you win, you get to choose your size too. We're not just going to send you a ladies small if you're a men's double XL.
Well, don't say men's double XL because we don't have any of those.
Oh shit. Men's XL.
Yeah, we'll get some of those. All of you more robust gentlemen will eventually get to wear a T-shirt. Anyway, should we begin our stories?
Sure, why not?
What do you got for us?
Well, I have the story of a man who was a Colorado man who was submerged. Well, he was rescued from his submerged car by first responders back, I guess Colorado was having some terrible floods earlier this year.
Yeah.
Just awful. Like terrible weather everywhere in the world except here, apparently.
Oh, yeah. We escaped.
We dodged the bullet.
We got, like, super nice.
It was the most lovely.
It was just a mild, lovely winter.
Yeah. Huh. Crazy. Climate change. So it's not normally like that, people.
That's right.
But anyways, so he was rescued, and of course he did sort of that typical thing that so many religious folk do. They thanked God. Right.
Sure.
And he's claiming that that he was, and he's saying things like I was saved by grace and blah blah blah. By God's grace, I was saved.
Yeah.
Totally ignoring the fact that there were first responders. Well, and that's probably a level of insult that most first responders have come to, accept.
Yeah.
And deal with.
Sure.
I think it would be a kind of a slap in the face if I were a first responder, but nonetheless, whatever the guy wants to believe.
But what if you were a first responder who was a believer?
You might also believe, wow, we got here just in the nick of time,
right?
Or something like that.
God guided our efforts and whatever.
Well, he's taking this whole little thing a step further.
Oh, good.
And he is his lawyer.
Yeah.
Which you can see where this is going. Is actually said that he is quoted as saying that Ortiz, that's the guy who's Roy Ortiz, survived, quote, by pure grace, and they are suing the first responders for taking too long to get there. He survived. God helped him survive, and now we need to sue.
Those first responders.
The first responders to the sum of $540,000 in actual damages.
Wow,
is what they're claiming here.
Wow,
yeah,
that is a level of ingratitude,
unbelievable.
That's bordering on the psychotic. That's amazing. I love it. Way to go.
Way to go, religious douchebag.
You know what this is my thinking. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but what you want, if people have saved your life, the main thing you want to do is make them think twice about doing it again. The main thing you want to do is give them a reason not to want to save your life again.
Right.
I think that's your goal.
Yeah.
If somebody comes and saves your life.
There will be no Rescue 911 hosted by William Shatner reunion with the first responders on this one. They will not be meeting in a park, having a picnic.
No.
Talking about how glad they are that they saved his life.
Gratefully hugging each other. Did you know that I was cast in a Rescue 911 episode?
What?
I was going to be one of the recreators. I was cast. I was ready to go, and then
Did they film it here?
Well, they filmed this one here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then it didn't happen.
And they canceled it?
No, they asked me in the audition if I knew how to drive a stick shift, and I said yes, and I did. And then what they didn't ask me in the audition was, do I have a driver's license? Which at the time I did not.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Oh, no.
And so they were like, wait, why didn't you tell us that you didn't have a driver's license? I said, you didn't ask. You only asked if I could drive a stick shift. And they got really mad at me. I thought it was like a closed course.
And that was the last time Daniel Beecher was cast in anything for television.
It may have been, actually.
The word got out. They keep a database on such things.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Anyway, well, that's good. That, if I get into an accident, the first thing I'm going to do is shit on the people that saved me.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Well, I'm gonna sound like real news now.
Oh, okay.
This is Israeli news. Now in Israel, I don't know if you know this, but every young person, or most young people, are required to do a stint of military service.
I did know
There is
that,
a manual draft or a mandatory draft of all able-bodied young folk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except the ultra-Orthodox Jews.
Right.
Who had a whole religious exemption
thingy
thing for them.
Okay.
Not no mo.
You're kidding me.
They have just voted. The Knesset, which is the
Israeli parliament.
Israeli parliament, has just voted to conscript the ultra-Orthodox. So they are. So now, and this is, I mean, this is a center-right government,
Right.
but they have pushed for the legislation to go through. The change began already, I guess.
What?
And it Yaakov Perry from the Yesh Atid party said the change begins tomorrow morning, and it is expected to transform the face of Israeli society unrecognizably.
Wow. I wonder what the long-term effect would be.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean,
because it's young men and young women, right? Isn't that how the Israeli army works?
I believe so.
It's co-ed.
And the ultra-Orthodox, so they're a little bit up in arms, of course. There were 52 of the 120 member Knesset abstained. They boycotted the vote to protest.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The vote passed 67-1 with all of those 52 in absentia, and so yeah, I mean the ultra Orthodox make up 3% of their society or something like that. So it wasn't this huge number, but it's really funny because when the representatives of the ultra Orthodox community were talking about it, they were insisting. They basically said our young men already serve the nation. Through prayer and study.
By being ultra Jewish.
Through prayer and study.
Wow.
They read a lot. So that's how they study and how they serve.
Yeah, but I mean...
It preserves the Jewish learning and heritage.
I'm making an assumption here.
Okay.
That the ultra-Orthodox community is probably fairly insular.
Yeah.
And so...
I assume that too.
And who knows? We might be wrong on that. But but getting those young men out of their situation, right? Out of their daily lives and mixing and mingling with the other 97% of the population.
Right.
For how long is the stint? Like 1 or 2 years?
It's like a couple of years, yeah.
So they're off out in the world, while still young, having probably a transformative experience, and then going back to their communities. I wonder what the long-term effect of that
It's a forced, what's the Amish thing? I want to say Schadenfreude, but that's not it. Hickenlooper. What is it called?
There's a certain
it's
amount of
Rumspringa.
Yeah, it is Rumspringa.
They're forcing it on.
Maybe it could be Rumspringa because they actually have the highest retention rate of any denomination in this country, as far as if I remember that fact right.
Yeah,
the Amish. It's like a 97 or 98% retention rate.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, this could be good. It could be that the ultra Orthodox starts fading away. Who knows how to predict
one way or the other.
One way or the other. But yes, now no longer will the ultra Orthodox young men be serving their community by reading.
That is pretty choice.
It's pretty good. Anyway, what do you got?
Let's see. I'm trying to decide if I want to get to... Let's go to the Cosmos. Cosmos. That was a show that probably a lot of our listeners watched.
I'm guessing a whole heck of
last
a lot
week
of y'all listeners out there watched the Neil deGrasse Tyson fella.
Yeah.
He's a handsome fella.
He is. He's got a good voice.
Oh,
too.
yes. Oh, yes.
He's got a presenter's voice.
Yeah. And he loves it, too. You can tell him just reveling around in that presenter's voice. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. That didn't sound anything like him.
That did not sound a thing. The timbre of your voice is not there.
No.
It's not Tyson-esque.
No, I'm not. I am in no way
deGrasse Tyson-esque.
I am no way deGrasse Tyson-esque. I can grow a mustache, though.
Yeah, you can do that well.
I can grow a good mustache.
Yeah.
So, in that sense.
In that sense, maybe.
And only in that sense.
I think that's probably where you and Neil... The Venn diagram that describes your connection.
The single crossover point of me and Neil deGrasse Tyson is ability
mustache.
to grow a mustache.
You can throw atheist in there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
There's atheist, right?
Yeah, there's that. There's
So-
a love of science. We both have a... Mine probably is not equal to his.
No, I think his holds a firmer or a much larger space in his life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But nonetheless, the Cosmos reboot, as it were, originally on PBS and now on Fox.
Right. Network.
Blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Because you can see it on PBS.
But you can
on
see it like
Fox-
10 other places. It's on like 7 channels.
Huh?
It's on like Fox, and then there's like
No,
FX
no.
HD or something.
I meant to see like imagine it being.
Oh.
I could imagine it being, and when it was hosted by Carl Sagan back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Exactly.
It was that era.
Yeah.
They made total sense on PBS, but now it's on Fox and just crazy town. But anyways, so we're having like a prime time show on science and the history of science and the future of like human life and blah blah blah. Like, it's just a totally cool program.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able to watch it on Sunday night, but I quickly dialed up, fox.com or whatever.
Sure.
And watched it on their website. And boy howdy, what a nice show.
You had a good time.
I had a good time.
I still have it's on my DVR. I still haven't watched it yet. I got to get to it.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah, I'll watch it this weekend.
Why not, Dan?
I've been very busy.
It doesn't matter. It's less than an hour of your life.
Anyway.
You can find time
But I want
for the most important thing
in the world
to have happened to lovers of science in a very long time.
I want to. This is the point, though. I want to hunker down. I want to get my popcorn. I want to get my drink, and I want to just hunker down and watch.
See, I have my Monday morning where I get to watch my shows.
You watch your programs.
I have Mondays off. Mondays are a day off for me.
You watch your stories.
And so I watch my stories on Monday morning. Usually by about 1 or 2 in the afternoon, I'm fully caught up on Girls. Now Cosmos, The Walking Dead.
Oh, I didn't know you were Walking Dead.
I fucking hate this season, but I'm watching it because I bought the season pass on iTunes, and I'm gonna fucking watch the whole thing. But I hate it. Anyways, back to Cosmos. Boy, my blood's boiling right now.
Yeah, it is.
So
tell us something about Cosmos.
Well, the thing that I want to tell you about it, because there's a lot that's being told about it.
Sure.
There's a lot going on. There's some criticisms of, the what's the guy's name? Giordano Bruno, right?
Yeah.
The Italian monk who he's featured in like this 11-minute long segment in the first episode.
Yeah, I read about that.
So there's a little bit of criticism that maybe they didn't pick the right guy because he's. But anyways, it's a nice story and there's some good quotable moments from the guy.
Right.
And so I see why they included it, but at the same time, I felt that it was kind of weak because he wasn't really like a historically.
Scientist.
Well, he wasn't. Apparently, he claimed to be a scientist, but nobody thinks he was a good scientist.
Well, there you go.
But nonetheless, so like Neil deGrasse Tyson actually has to, in sort of his presentation, in his narration, he says that that for Bruno it was really kind of a guess, and he was right, but he was willing to die for what he believed in.
Right.
But still, a lot of people have died for like things that they believed in that were totally wrong.
Yeah, that to me sounds pretty religious to me.
Yeah,
if you're dying for a belief that you have no evidence of, that I don't
want us to get
that.
mired down in that moment because that's not what I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Apparently, the Oklahoma City Fox affiliate, for 15 seconds, ran a promo for their news broadcast over the evolution segment. And I want to play what that sounded like, and then I want to play the part that they covered
missed?
up.
Okay.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Last night of the cosmic year. It's 9:45 on New Year's Eve.
Coming up tonight at 9, the new evidence showing our biggest earthquake could have been man-made. Plus, he hasn't even reached his teens and he's already found a successful career. How this Oklahoma hunter is breaking records and landed his own TV show. That's tonight on the Primetime News at 9.
For the longest part of human existence, say the last...
Now let's listen to
what got
the
covered
whole
up.
thing, and you'll hear the part that was covered.
Okay.
Last night of the cosmic year. It's 9:45 on New Year's Eve. 3.5 million years ago, our ancestors, yours and mine, left these traces. We stood up and parted ways from them. Once we were standing on 2 feet, our eyes were no longer fixated on the ground. Now we were free to look up and wonder. For the longest part of human existence, say the last 40,000.
There was no accident involved
Well,
in
the
this
station
moment.
is claiming operator error. They tweeted this tweet from their official at OKC Fox Twitter account. Sunday during Cosmos, a local news promo was aired over a portion of Cosmos content. This was an operator error, and we regret the error, and then that's it. And what I'm sorry, like, that was so perfectly timed.
Yeah. Right over the one moment where he mentions
Human evolution.
we had ancestors that weren't us, and now we're us, and we can look up.
That to me, like, that sounds like a general manager who didn't want to pull the program, right? Or somebody, a programming director who couldn't get it, pulled, and who did a wink at the operator who he knew was going to be on that night, and did it.
Yeah,
In my mind, that's what it is.
To me, it could be something as simple as just, like one of the guys in the control room knew that was coming, had the thing queued up, and he himself sort of hit it, and everybody else was just kind of looked the other way or something.
It feels so... Well, most likely he would be... I mean, of course, I don't really know commercial television very well. I know the public broadcasting side of things. But at a PBS affiliate, he'd probably be the only person in the room.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't need a ton of people in the age of computers running a TV
Right.
station. You need one person sitting there. And all these things, typically, if it is computerized, you really fucked up because you really pushed the wrong button.
Right.
Because everything's just set to do what it does when it does.
How often does something like this happen? You never see it anymore.
If we have any affiliate like master control operators out there, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But
It
my
was
sense
clearly
of it,
purposeful.
It seems so personal.
There's no way it could be
So
an
it
accident.
it
There's
seems
no
like-
way. There's no way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that.
I love it.
So, these guys. That's precious. That's genuinely precious. Oh, they're cute over there in your former state.
I just know how I went to high school in Oklahoma, and during a period of time when they were trying to do away with prayers being said at football games,
Right.
and that kind of stuff, and when I mean the federal government was trying to crack down on this kind
Right.
of stuff, and I remember the school, I remember one of the teachers sort of taking it upon himself to do a wink, wink, nod, nod with a group of students.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, if somebody just decides to stand up and pray and it's a student, nobody can do anything.
Right.
Wink, wink. And
Yep.
it was so I know that kind of shit happens.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to go from that kind of bullshit passive-aggressive nonsense to a different, to other bullshit passive-aggressive nonsense.
Okay.
A man named Michael J. Stevens. He's been teaching in higher ed courses in organizational behavior for 20 years.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or OB, as I like to call it. Anyway, as a way of introducing the topic, he often gives a self-assessment to his students, which he calls the Behavior Description Questionnaire. Mm-hmm. And he has his students fill this questionnaire out at the beginning of the class, and he's out of the Midwest, and it talks about So basically, he takes a bunch of questions that lead you to understand whether you have low concern for others or high concern for others, and low concern for self or high concern for self.
Interesting.
And and where that puts you, he divides the results up into 5 different categories. If you have low concern for others and low concern for yourself, then the way that you generally handle conflict is through avoidance. You just try to avoid all conflict.
Okay.
If you have high concern for others and low concern for self, then then you go to accommodation. You just accommodate what they want.
Okay.
Rather than and you subvert your own desires.
Right.
High concern for others, low concern for self, puts you into high concern for self and low concern for others put you into competition mode.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I see that.
And then high concern for others and for self puts you into collaboration mode.
Oh.
But there's a middle. When you have sort of middle concern for others and middle concern for self, then you're a compromiser. You're someone who goes into compromise.
Okay, right. Okay.
So those are the basic categories that he comes up with.
Okay.
So he's done this in the Midwest for a long time. He's got some good data from it as he compiles the data. And then he came to Weber State University in Ogden, Utah.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
Weber State University. Ogden is, it's a very Mormon place. It's
Is it?
less Mormon than, say, your Provo or whatever. But
I never think of that area up there. I think of like the areas just north of Salt Lake as being very Mormon. But isn't Ogden kind of a little pocket?
It's a little pocket, but I mean, it's still largely Mormon. It's largely LDS, and the attendees of Weber State are largely LDS.
Well, and they're in-state typically, and from in-state,
right? So he did some guest lecturing at Weber State and gave this thing and found surprising results, a surprising anomaly in the results.
Really,
generally speaking. He found that usually, people there were far fewer people were in the avoid or accommodate section of
accommodate.
Right.
Okay,
and more generally speaking, your high scores are in the compromise, collaborate, and generally and a little ways below that compete.
Okay, so avoid, accommodate is low concern for self and low concern. Wait, what?
Avoidance and accommodation are low concern for low concern for self. Avoidance is low concern for others. Accommodation is high concern for others.
So low concern for self, high concern for others.
Right. But both of them are low concern for self.
But low concern for self.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, so those are the generally lower scores.
Okay.
When he came to Weber State, avoidance shot up.
Oh, okay.
Shot up.
Okay.
So then he got very curious, and he started parsing it out. So he's changed the questionnaire to include questions about state of origin and religion. And it turns out that Utah-raised LDS people are the most passive-aggressive humans on the planet. They are the most... Their avoidance scores are off the fucking chart. We're talking. We're talking on a scale of 0 to 12 is the possible score range. In the national comparison, the highest score you get is 7.9 for compromise. 7.9 is the highest you get, and it's compromise.
Okay.
Avoidance is a 4.0. 4.0 is very low.
So people tend not to avoid conflict.
People tend to have some sort of confrontation.
You were telling me that elsewhere in the world, people don't avoid conflict?
Right.
That's fascinating. So, because I've always watched, MTV, the what is it, The Real World. I've just been like, where do they find all these assholes? Because it's nothing but, conflict. And I'm like, you have to search far and wide in order to, find, what is it, 7 people who are going to be such conflict ridden.
No.
Because seriously, like if you cast that thing with a bunch of Utahns, it would be the most boring show of all time.
Well, let me give you some numbers here. Weber State University LDS average for avoidance 8.7.
That's amazing.
Utah raised and LDS 9.1.
Holy shit!
It's the highest number on the whole damn chart.
So when people come to Utah and they're like, "Wow, everybody's so nice here," no, they're not nice.
No,
because we know they're not nice.
They're not nice. They're actually
passive aggressive.
They're like so passive aggressive. Like you couldn't make them get into a conflict with you. You could scream into their face and they would just turn around and walk away. And like later they would cry about it and say bad things about you.
I will never think of Utahns the same way again. That is remarkable.
I'm surprised that this wasn't just. I mean, I
knew they were passive aggressive.
Right.
Like if you asked me, I would have been like, "Oh yeah, the Mormons are passive aggressive."
But the thing is that this is
for it to actually be substantiated.
Yeah,
like somebody actually did some research.
This is enumerated. This is data, data-driven proof that Utah Mormons are the most passive-aggressive people you'll ever meet. Oh. It makes them so impossible to deal with. This is why my in-laws are are so hard to deal with.
Because you never know what they're really thinking.
No.
Never.
No, you say something to them, and they say something back to you that is not what they mean.
Right, exactly.
Because and you know what it is? Half of it is this whole fucking... In the temple ceremony, people, when these people go through the temple, they are commanded to avoid contention.
Oh, yeah, contention is of the devil.
Contention is of the devil.
You hear that all the time.
I got news for you, Mormons. Contention is not of the devil.
Yeah.
Passive aggression is of the devil.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, because, like, you want your... This was bred into this. This is the church, how the church operates, right? Like, you can't have your own ideas about how your local church unit is supposed to be operating.
Right.
Right? Like, you just follow.
Right.
And so whenever anybody has like a different idea or has their own opinion about some aspect of the church or church practice or something that's just cultural or whatever, it's like it makes everybody feel icky, right?
Yeah.
And they'll say when like people start like disagreeing about something, "Oh, brother, sister, the contention is of the devil."
Yeah, they'll make it very clear that, don't.
So you have to push it down.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to learn how to avoid. It's amazing.
I'm gonna read this paragraph from this article. It says in its milder forms. This is the doctor who wrote, or this is the guy who wrote Michael J. Stevens who wrote the thing. It's in its milder forms, passive aggression will manifest itself merely as polite and innocuous attempts to steer clear of uncomfortable topics or encounters with others.
Right.
However, in its more insidious forms, passive aggression can rise to a level of interpersonal hostility and contempt that embodies a whatever response to the views and opinions of others. In this way, the passive aggression label can be misleading. A more accurate description would be passive hostility or passive contempt.
And I see that.
So fucking true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Mormons. It really, what's funny is that you're having the response now that I had when I read it, which is like, it's like putting words to something that you always knew but just didn't understand. Like you didn't have the words or or a means to understand it.
But passive contempt is an amazing concept.
Yes.
Wow.
So there you go.
I
Passive
see
aggression
that.
is the least common response option to conflict among the U.S. population at large. It's the least common response.
Passive aggressive
Yeah.
is uncommon?
In the U.S. at large.
All I've had to do my entire adult life living in Utah is deal with passive aggressive people.
I know.
Holy fuck. And anytime anybody's like mildly like opinionated, I bristle.
You do.
I'm just like, "Oh, shut up."
Well, I've seen you do it around me because I just blurt out whatever fucking thing's on my mind, and I've seen you like if we're among other people like mixed company, you go. They're going to passive contempt at us. That's what it is. When you come to Utah, the great part about this is that if you don't care about the person you're dealing with, like if it's just a stranger,
Oh, you can get away
this
with
is
anything.
perfect because you can get away with anything with these people.
Yeah.
They will just get their buttholes really, really tight and walk away.
So if you want to see this in action, go to youtube.com
Oh, yes,
/TGI Atheist and watch when Dan gets dressed up in a blue costume,
In a blue jumpsuit.
and walks around during the Mormons' big event, their general conference. There's 20 some odd thousand Mormons wandering around.
There's more than that. There's
30,000.
I think there's hundreds of thousands. There's 20,000 that can just fit into the damn
Yeah,
building.
but like, there's not hundreds of thousands.
There's a lot.
There's
Anyway.
a lot. There's a lot. He's wandering around. It gets some looks. That's about it. But you have like this street preacher in part of the video standing there shouting horrible things to the Mormons, and nobody does anything.
No. They just. It's just sad to them that that's happening.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know Mormon culture and don't know Utah culture, this won't be the revelation for you that it was for us. But holy shit, for us it was just like, now we understand.
Yeah.
There
And
you go.
hopefully the rest of you found it like mildly entertaining.
Yeah. Go try to have some conflict with a Mormon. It's very fun.
All right. Well, I have a story from Kentucky. A group of Baptist churches, I believe they were all Baptist, who withheld $7 million from a children's home. Okay.
Oh.
To force the children's home to back off their new policy of allowing LGBT workers in the children's home.
Okay.
Because, and the reason that it's a religious group that runs this children's home.
Sure.
Right. But they get 85% of their funding, which ended up being, whatever 85% of $27 million would be.
Whoa.
They get that funding from the federal government,
Sure.
which means they can't discriminate
Right.
based on sexual identity.
Those poor they can't discriminate.
And so they
just-
were trying to protect the lion's share of their budget.
Yeah.
And instead, this little group that was giving $7 million, which is by no means a little group actually,
No.
got their way.
Wow.
The executive director of Sunrise Children's Services, a man by the name of Bill Smithwick,
That's
actually,
a fake name. That is a fake name.
actually resigned his position.
Wow.
And now that Sunrise has backed off, the Kentucky Baptist Convention is now back on their side, and they have started a rabid fundraising effort to get them all the money they need again, and because it's now safe to donate.
So
Your money will not potentially go to pay the salary of some LGBT individual who's working with these poor kids.
thank God there's no queers helping out the children's. God, because you know what? They might catch the gay.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids anywhere near those guys because they'll catch the gay from them.
Yeah. And nowhere in here did it actually say whether they had any gay people working for them.
Which they probably
It
don't.
was a policy change.
So wait, how much money did they give up on this? Just
Well, the Sunrise was willing to say we can't accept your $7 million. No. They were willing to put that $7 million on the line.
oh my God.
But because of budgetary shortfalls, and I mean, an executive director, their job is to protect the budget.
Yeah.
The board probably also didn't agree with the executive director's stance. Who knows? I don't have any of that information, but just guessing. So that would be a problem for that executive director.
Yeah.
And that executive director obviously felt the weight of his decision and had to leave.
Oh my God.
It's remarkable, though. I mean, they were throwing some money. They were throwing their weight around using their money.
Can't we just save the children from the gays?
Well, it also just seems totally obnoxious that because this group, this Sunrise group, apparently they like provide essential services in Kentucky. Like they are really picking up for like local government shortfalls of services being provided to children. And that is our system. That is we have established a system where government has backed off from providing certain services so that nonprofits fill that void.
Well, and what's really happened is that
it's a problem.
The real problem is that what's happened is that all of this is now on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
And the most conservative states in our union are also coincidentally, or rather not coincidentally, the poorest states in our union.
Right.
Which is so weird because the Conservative Party politics doesn't serve the poor the way they live. But that's neither here nor there. But what it means is that the states with the least amount of state tax revenue are the ones who are made to serve the largest number of poor people, and they just can't do it.
Right. So you need that federal money coming in.
Right. They need it. Yep. Anyway, there you go. Well, I've got another story about Kentucky.
Oh, we're having a little Kentucky moment.
Yeah, we're and Baptists at that. We're just having a Kentucky Baptist type of time.
This was not coordinated.
No, it was not. Here's the dealio. The Kentucky Baptists, they want members. They want people to come in and join the church and get themselves saved.
Who doesn't?
Everybody.
Everybody wants more members.
Well, they've come up with a good way of doing it.
How is that, Dan?
Well, you know how banks, when they want you to come in, they might offer you, they might say, free toaster or free calendar if you come in and start up a new account, or free something.
Yeah. I've never gotten anything like that.
Me neither, but anyway.
I know that happened. I've heard that happened.
Yeah, maybe that happened back in the 90s or 80s or something.
Little bowls of dum-dums sitting on the counter at my bank.
Anyway, so the churches have started to offer stuff if you get saved by Jesus.
I thought that shouldn't that be incentive enough?
Well, you'd think, but they've hit on something very.
But wait a second.
They've hit on something good here.
They are offering. Wait. So what you're saying is what they've been offering, which is
eternal salvation
and avoidance of hell.
Not good enough.
That's not good enough.
Not good enough.
Okay.
It's not going to get them all in there.
So what is good enough?
AR-15s.
Yeah, okay.
Guns. They are offering guns.
Of course they are.
Of course they are.
Wait, no. Wait, how long do you have to... I have so many questions.
They're calling it the Second Amendment celebrations.
Oh, what about that First Amendment? Can we get down to that one, though?
Yeah, well, no.
Can they offer... You know what could get me into the church?
What?
Is if they offered me some freedom of religion. Some separation of church and state.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah.
At least I'd go and talk to them.
Yeah.
If they were offering that.
If that was what they were offering me, yeah.
I don't know. I'll tell you what, though. There is a little bit of controversy surrounding this idea of giving guns to people to join up with their church.
Uh-huh.
One pastor, Reverend Joe Phelps, he's a pastor of Louisville's Independent Highland Baptist Church, said, "How ironic to use guns to lure men in to hear a message about Jesus, who said, 'Put away the sword.'"
Oh, yeah. He said nothing about guns, though.
That's right. But he also said something. Didn't he also say something about you have to have a sword?
Yeah.
So
there's something like that.
So, get your Jesus straight. Which Jesus do you like? I like the gun Jesus. Give me gun Jesus.
I like the Jesus who would have walked into the temple with an AR-15.
Yes.
To cleanse it. That's
exactly.
my Jesus.
That's not knocking over tables.
Yeah.
That's popping caps.
That's
caps.
That would be a true cleansing.
Yeah.
Temple.
Yeah.
Because the money changers, when you just knock over their tables, they're coming back tomorrow. Right.
Right.
If you kill them, if you do a mass
Yeah. You murdered those bastards.
A massacre.
They'll be, then what do you got?
Who's going to come money change tomorrow?
Yeah. There's one guy said that this was a bridge to unchurched men, so they will hear what we have to say. He's
Unchurched?
Yes, Roger
That's a thing.
Alford of the Kentucky Baptist Convention's he's the Kentucky Baptist Convention's communication director. He said he wrote an article titled "God, Guns, and Good Old Boys," and he claimed he described this as outreach to rednecks.
Wow.
If you only get lured into church with a gun, you might be a redneck.
Oh,
You know, they might have even more success if they had just used the guns and threatened people and made them go into the church. I'd go if someone pointed a gun at me, I'd probably go into their church.
Yeah, I guess.
They wouldn't make me believe it, but I'd sure say I believed it.
Yeah.
If I had an AR-14 pointed at me.
Yeah, that's true.
But if they're just offering it to me, actually, I might say I believed it too because those are valuable, and I might. And mind you, the AR-15s are not the only guns. That was just one gun. I think it's more
like gold level,
yeah, exactly.
platinum level.
Exactly.
You go 6 months.
You got
the longer you go,
you got to
more
be
likely
baptized, and you got to become a pastor.
If
If you want the AR-15, otherwise you get Hey, you guys got any 30-30s? What do you got? What?
little 22.
What's that? 22? I ain't going to church for no 22. At least give me a shotgun, I can kill a duck.
That's amazing. Well, all right.
Well, there you go. If you want to join a church and tell us about it, you can do so. You can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Or you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, where all of these stories and many more will appear for your viewing pleasure.
Delightfully so. All right, we're going to take a quick break. It's our patty break. It's a patty break.
It's a patty break.
And here he is. He's opining about horror films and the things that can happen to you because of watching a horror film.
Submit to the horror. Yeah.
This is Michelle, who says, I was watching a horror movie the other day on the recommendation of others. It was rather strange and awfully macabre. And then this past Sunday, I got into an accident leaving church. Did watching that creepy movie cause a curse or the Lord's protection to be lifted from me? Did I grieve the Holy Spirit by watching this series?
A few years ago, I heard about a teenage girl who was demon-possessed. And people began to deal with the demon and try to cast it out. And you know what the demon said? I had permission. And the permission was granted when this child had gone to some double X-rated movie or whatever it was and had allowed this thing to come into her. I know this sounds kind of otherworldly, but that's the way it is. So could it have happened to you? Yes. I don't think it did, but it could have. But this thing may be living around you, and what you need to do, again, is speak it. Command this thing to leave and ask God to forgive you. I know that's weird, but these things can happen. And I think some of these producers, who knows what influences are into them, but some of these movies are, you said macabre, it's a good word for it. And so I just think, in the name of Jesus, declare your victory and keep going on. I don't think that you've been demon-possessed. I don't think anything has happened to you. But nevertheless, declare victory and plead the blood of Jesus Christ over your life.
Wow.
Declaring victory.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that in all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
I'm just, if I get into a car accident and the other guy's saying it's my fault, I will say, I declare victory in Jesus' name.
Yeah, you should. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants you to do.
Yeah, exactly. That is a tragic story about that kid that went and watched the double X-rated movie.
What? There is a problem in this country.
The child who went and watched the double X-rated movie and got possessed by a demon.
Where is our society going?
It's a tragedy.
Children in double X Well, at least it wasn't a triple X.
Right.
It was only a double
Only
X.
double X. Is that even a thing? Does that even exist? Maybe it did. Maybe it did 50 years ago when Pat Robertson was
Pat's
aware of
favorite
anything.
kind.
Right. Exactly. Can I just say something about Pat Robertson? I believe I've said this before, but it bears repeating. His name is not Patrick or
What is
Patty.
it? What is it?
Marion Gordon Robertson.
Is Pat standard short for Marion?
I think it's a nickname for. I think it's a description of what he used to do to young ladies.
Oh.
I don't know. No, Pat
Because,
is.
there's standard nicknames. What's the standard nickname for Marion? Mary?
Mary. We should call him Mary. Mary Robertson.
Pat does sound better than Marion Robertson.
Well, you know who else was named Marion who had to change it?
Who?
John Wayne.
Oh, that's right.
Marion Morrison.
Wow.
Apparently, if you're named Marion, you will become famous, but you will not get to keep your name. I mean, if you're a woman, you might be able to. Marion. Aren't there Marions that are women?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have some emails.
Yes, we do.
And some e-females. That's a good joke. We got one from Gustavo, who's a listener in South America.
Oh.
And wanted to say this. He said, I'm excerpting here. I don't know if the crew of Thank God I'm Atheist just focus on the atheist elements only in America, or if you like to talk about atheist problems that happen all around the globe. We do.
Yeah.
But I'm writing you in the hopes that you will listen to what I have to say. In the last month, something has begun that began as a Christian tendency has become a movement against atheists for all those Spanish-speaking atheists or all those who live in a Hispanic country.
Really?
He mentions a YouTube channel that has some stuff. I checked it out. It's in Spanish, so I didn't know what it was saying. But he said it's dedicated to show videos that diminish, underestimate, defame, denigrate, and discredit all free-thinking Latin Americans.
That's not good.
So yeah, I mean, Gustavo, this kind of shit's happening all around the world. But I mean, in the more religious areas, you're gonna have to expect to see it more.
Yeah, I guess.
Unfortunately.
But thank you for
calling our attention to it.
Absolutely.
And fight the good fight. But I think fight the good fight doesn't mean attack. For my money, the best thing that we as atheists can do is A, speak out when we see someone saying something that's bullshit.
Right.
But B, do it in a way that's friendly. Do it in a way that's like, oh, you know what, though? I know a lot of atheists who are great people and they do really good things. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can be a little bit more sensitive when you talk about it.
Right.
Just saying that when someone says something bullshit is going to make a world of difference in the world. And the more of us that stand up for ourselves and don't get passive aggressive like the Mormons, the better off we'll all be.
Indeed.
There you go. What do you got? You've got an email, don't you?
I have an email from Sarah. Sarah's an old friend, actually.
Oh.
She says, "Hi, Frank and Dan. Just a couple of random thoughts. One, I love this. It turns out that Sarah saw Ken Ham as a kid at a creation science conference. She says one of his big things was presenting the evidence, including Loch Ness, that dinosaurs still exist. Ergo, they survived the flood, and so the Bible is true."
Loch Ness. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is proof positive minus the proof.
Minus
or
the Loch Ness monster.
Right.
You know,
As soon as we capture Nessie,
yeah,
we'll know.
Yeah. Anyways, I wonder what the chupacabra is proof of.
Oh yeah.
Or
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That guy's proof of something.
Yeah. Did you like my Bigfoot gesture?
He had Frank did a very lovely sort of walkie thing. Because good, Frank, he walks.
Yeah, he does walk.
That's what he
the
does.
Picture of him out in the woods. I was kind of doing the lumbering thing. Anyways, let's see. Oh, she brings up this interesting point also that sort of bringing up the fact, like, how creeped out I get about Mormon temple stuff.
Right.
And how, like, we've received a lot of and you get creeped out by it too, but we've gotten a lot of this, like, feedback from, like, listeners who were not members of the LDS Church, who have really not a lot of exposure to the Mormons, and they don't really find it all that creepy.
Right.
They're just like, well, okay, it's just people with weird hats and stuff.
Yeah, because at one point we mentioned
creepy.
the video that Mike took of inside of the actual ceremonies, and people watched them and were like, well, that was just long and boring, and it wasn't really a big deal. And
she says that she has a similar experience, but she grew up born again. And she sort of has, when she sees some of that stuff, it creeps her out in the
born
same
again
way.
stuff, like
stuff.
like the talking in tongues, right?
Yeah,
specifically, isn't that what she's talking about?
People praying in tongues and the like.
Right, because we just think it's funny and weird,
right?
But she gets all.
She's like, oh God, like. So, I mean, that's an interesting thing. You get creeped out by the thing that you're exposed to.
Right.
And you keep seeing it, even though you're out of it. And then she says also, her third point was quite a few weeks ago, someone asked about relationships with believers, specifically how to deal with people you love and respect, yet believe things so illogical, even silly. I've been pondering that question a lot lately, and one thing that helps me is the notion of personality as fate. I feel, of course, that people have some control over their destinies, although maybe less than we like to believe. But I also think that who we are is relatively hardwired. So if someone is prone to belief, it's just part of their evolutionary makeup and genetic destiny, like cancer, she says. I'd be interested to know what you think on that topic, as well as other TGI listeners.
Well, I think that's a valid point. I think a lot of people are very predisposed toward belief.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are predisposed toward, like, subversive belief, meaning, there are people who are predisposed toward not accepting what authority gives them, and that's where you get, like the truthers and the 9/11 conspiracy theorists and stuff, who will not hear anything but what, once they get a conspiracy sort of in their mind, they won't hear anything else.
Well, everything that disproves it clearly must be part of the conspiracy, right?
It just further proves it.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. And I think, but add to that, Sarah, if you want my opinion, not only is it that, add to that the social element of it. I mean, if you want to talk about predisposed, talk about being socialized since you were born,
and that's where I
into
wanted
something
to take it. I'm not so sure that it's. I don't know how far the genetic thing would take it, but I would definitely think that experiences in early childhood and whatnot would make you be more, predisposed to whatever.
Absolutely,
believing or needing conspiracies to be true or whatever.
Yeah, it'll happen. So thanks for that, Sarah. We also got a really interesting one from Donna. When I first opened it, I was like, oh, this is too long. We can't read the whole thing, but it's so good. Donna went to Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
Okay.
And she wanted to tell us about the religious experience of that, which is interesting because, Mardi Gras comes out of a religious tradition. It's sort of the bacchanalia that precedes Lent. It's the crazy, let's get all the evil out of our system before we have to all be really, really, really good for 40 days.
Right. Yeah.
So she says on Lundi Gras, which is the Monday before the Tuesday, the day before Mardi Gras, we were walking up Canal Street towards Bourbon Street when I first saw the young Christians. They were lined up on the side of the walkway in pairs, asking people if they wanted a prayer. The pairs were usually a girl and a guy in their early 20s. Then we turned on to Bourbon Street, and there was at least 100 pairs of kids inadvertently blocking the way with their prayers. We passed them kindly, turning them down for their services, and kept on walking down the street. Then a few blocks down, more Christians. These were the ones that hold the big crosses with the signs saying Jesus doesn't judge and so on. These guys were much older and had a microphone which they used to yell craziness at the crowds. We then left Bourbon Street and walked towards the Mississippi River, where we came across at least 200 people participating in an outdoor makeshift church service.
Watch.
Then, on the actual Mardi Gras night, we came across the same young Christians, but there was a new group that blew everyone else out of the water. It was composed of at least 300 mostly white men. They were all wearing red. There were 4 lines of men walking while they held on the shoulders of the men while they held the shoulders of the men in front of them. They walked slowly down the length of Bourbon Street while the men in the front held a huge wooden cross. They didn't yell or spew any of their beliefs, but their presence was the worst, mainly because they took up so much of an already super busy street. Normal Mardi Gras visitors were cordial with the other Christians, but not with the red men. Beads were thrown with force, words were said, it turned ugly, but the men kept walking.
Wow.
I just think that's...
Brave souls.
It's so interesting that, like... I mean, I actually think that's an interesting element of the pageantry of Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole... Like to have all these guys walking slowly down the street...
It's the yin and the yang
yes,
of Mardi Gras.
Indeed.
You need both.
Or, well...
Do you, though?
Maybe you do. I don't know. I would feel more comfortable with these guys in red if they just at least show their boobies every now and then. Get some beads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just participate.
They're not going to.
They're not going to.
They're not going to, Dan.
Well, thanks.
That's interesting, though. People
Thanks for making us aware of that, Donna. Because this was a subsection of it that I've never heard about.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear about the drunkenness and the everybody dancing and the parade and the beads and the boobs and the drunkenness and the drunkenness and the drunkenness.
Mm-hmm.
But you never hear about all the Christians wanting to pray with you.
Yeah, no.
Would you let them pray just for shits and giggles?
No.
It's one of those things where I would be tempted to be like, okay, let's pray, and they'd start talking, and then I'd just interrupt with, and please let the Saints win the next Super Bowl, and please
They'd probably be happy with you praying about whatever. You'd have to take it to a really inappropriate place.
Which is what I would end up doing. You know me. I'd start it off easy, like just silly, stupid things, and then get into like the crazy stuff.
Right.
And please let Lord Satan come out and play. I don't know. Anyway, well, that was fascinating, Donna. Appreciate all of you guys writing in. Frank?
Yes?
You and I have done something wrong.
What did we do?
I don't know, but we've done something horribly, horribly wrong.
What's wrong?
Because we don't have any donors to thank this week. I don't know what we've done to offend you guys. I'm so sorry. I take it as a sign of personal failure on our part, but nobody decided that we were worth donating to this week. So if anybody would like to rectify that and give to our podcast that we may continue on our journey, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on this little support button, and then Frank won't feel quite so sad. Because now he's making sounds like the oldest daughter on Bob's Burgers. Stop it, Frank. You're freaking everybody out. Should we move on? Okay. So we got in touch with and caught up with Dave Moscato.
Yes.
PR director, as we said, for American Atheists. That's the organization that's putting on the big conference, the big do here in town next month.
Yeah.
We caught up with them because they did a little bit of an interesting thing, and we wanted to hear more about it. They did something unexpected, or at least I didn't expect it.
Yeah, so why don't we just get right to it?
Let's do it. Well, we're here with Dave Moscato, who is... what are you, PR director of American Atheists?
Yeah, public relations director. That's right.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, we asked you on because you and I are Facebook friends, and I noticed that there was a bit of a kerfuffle when you when American Atheist decided to get a table at CPAC.
Yes, that's right.
Talk to us about that.
It's the CPAC is the Conservative Political Action Conference. If your listeners aren't familiar,
right.
It's the largest annual conservative convention in the country. About 10,000 people go to this every year, and speakers are people like Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann and Donald Trump and
Chris Christie got some words in edgewise there.
Yeah. Rush Limbaugh has spoken there before. Sean Hannity has spoken there before. So, yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. And
who wouldn't want to go to that? That's
exactly,
exciting.
Right? Yep. So, actually, we actually registered and paid for our table last year. This was, several months ago, and we made an announcement more recently. A few weeks ago, even less than that actually, that we were going to set up a booth at this, and we had ordered all of our materials as far as a big booth background, backdrop type of thing,
sure.
and all of this, and had flyers made up, and we made a big press announcement that said, I think the title of it was "Going into the Lion's Den" or something like that.
Oh my God!
About our intention to go there and why we were going and so on. And within hours, we got a call from Dan Snyder, who is the executive director of the ACU, which is the organization that puts on CPAC every year, basically just saying, we made a mistake and you're not invited now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the reason he didn't use the word mistake, the reason that he gave, or the reason that the ACU gave through their spokesperson Megan Schneider, was that we misrepresented our intentions as far as our willingness to have a positive dialogue, which is total bull. I mean that's absolutely false. It's my speculation that they were looking for a reason to get rid of us because they had a lot of internal pressure. My understanding is from their board of directors.
Sure.
After the religious right freaked out on Twitter at first and then on the blogs after we announced that we were going, they were accused of, I can't remember who it was. Somebody said, you're going to have to drop the C from CPAC, the stands for conservative, if you let them in. And,
there's never been a conservative atheist. I mean,
right,
it's
exactly.
absurd.
And at least, I don't know exact numbers, but a lot of libertarians are atheists.
Yeah.
They generally side on conservatism. And Rand was an atheist.
That's the first thing I thought of, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And and actually, it's even more than I think people tend to think. Part of the reason that we're going to this, it's no secret. Atheists are generally thought of as liberal, progressive people. We usually vote Democrat, but we don't exclusively do that.
Sure.
And the interesting thing that I actually didn't know until we started looking into this. I mean, we go to Creating Change. We go to Netroots Nation. We go to a lot of progressive conferences.
Sure.
National Organization, for Women. But this one, even our own members were, a lot of cases, shocked that we decided to do this, and they were, in some cases, upset that we were associating with these people.
Wait, you got blowback from other atheists about going to this conference?
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of people just thought that we were associating with anti-choice people, anti-LGBTQ equality people.
Sure.
And the interesting thing, though, is that the point that we're making is that there really are two different camps in conservatism. And I would call one of the camps not even really conservative at all. Let me explain what I mean by that. So we have the fiscal conservatives. These are the people who, what I would think of as actual conservatism, these are the values like small government, low taxes, individual liberties, personal responsibility, gun rights, all those basic things. Nothing to do with religion. These are all just the role of government as far as what they're supposed to do. Then we have what are called the social conservatives. These are the people who are anti-gay rights, anti-abortion. These are the people trying to put creationism in science classes. These are the people trying to put prayer in council meetings, Ten Commandments monuments in front of government buildings, and so on. Those are all religious things. That's not anything to do with politics. That is theocracy. That is trying to use the government to insert your religion into ruling everybody.
Right.
And so our argument is, and this is actually a new thing. That wasn't really part of conservatism until 1981 when Reagan came into office, and the religious right started to rise up as, capital R religious right, started to become kind of conflated with conservatism.
Right.
They kind of became married to each other like that. It wasn't always that way.
Sure.
So our point is that they don't have to be married like that, and in fact, it hurts conservatism to think of it as inseparable from this fundamentalist Christian religious right aspect that is not all conservatives. It's just some vocal part of conservatism that the rest of the country is now thinking of as conservatives, and that's the blow that we saw from our side when they said, "Hey, you're getting in bed with these anti-gay, anti-abortion people." Like, no, that's a fringe aspect of conservatism that we think should not be part of conservatism.
Right. Well, I mean, I think part of the deal. I mean, these guys, everyone who said on their side that said that they'd have to take the C off of CPAC. I think what they're really admitting to is that C doesn't stand for conservative. That C stands for Christian.
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly our point. Actually, on the flyers that we had made up, we had the question right there at the top: why are we here? And it says because conservatism does not equal Christianity.
Right.
And I think and people that's a difficult thing for a lot of people on the right to grasp. Oh. And that was the point we wanted to make. Something interesting that I didn't really know until we started looking into preparing for this conference. So there are about 60 million Americans who are not religious, and half of those people, 30 million of them, want a smaller government. They lean conservative, but only 10 million of those 60 million actually vote conservative, as far as like voting, generally for the Republicans or Libertarians. And the other 20 million don't. The other 20 million either vote for independents or they vote Democrat, which is weird because they want smaller government.
Right.
But the reason they do it, the reason they vote that way is because they are driven away from the Republican Party by these social conservative politics that are mixed in with actual conservatism. So our message was that you guys are losing 20 million potential voters by driving them away by mixing religion and government, which you're not supposed to be doing in the first place because of the First Amendment.
Right.
Yeah, and interestingly, among conservatives, about a quarter of them seldom or never pray, and about a fifth of them say that religion is not important in their lives. They're not religious people. I mean, the people think of conservatives as just religious or fundamentally religious, but that's just not true. As we were talking, about libertarians and so on, but it's not even exclusively libertarians. And as far as yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, I get the numbers. I get how that plays out, but that's not how things are going to play out when you actually go to CPAC. Those millions of people. They can't be the ones that are actually paying the dues and going into CPAC, can they?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, in my experience of being there for a day and a half, that the majority of them, that it was a good representation of the whole population.
So tell us some stories about, who did you encounter at CPAC? Who did you meet?
We actually surprisingly did not meet a bunch of really fundamentalist, off-the-wall religious people, which is what I thought we would see. That's not what's there. It's a lot of young people, for one thing. It's a lot of people who are there for the social networking of just meeting other people interested in politics. It's a lot of people there for to build business relationships. And then, I mean, it is a lot of conservative religious people too, but there really didn't seem to be that much push for religion as I thought there was going to be. There was, I mean, a lot of people were wearing crosses and stuff like that, but there were a lot of people wearing American flag pins too without pushing anything else.
Sure.
And we ran into a lot of atheists, way, way more atheists than I ever would have thought. I thought that actually our original intention with our booth, we designed it so that the website was really big on the backdrop, with the idea being that people would not feel comfortable coming up to talk to us.
Right.
And this way, at least they could get the website and they could look at it later in private. That's not what happened. People came up to talk to us. They took our flyers. They wanted to know why we were there. And most people, even Christians, said that it was right that we were there, that we had the right to be, that they agreed with our purpose, and that they thought it was wrong for CPAC to kick us out.
So were you guys just standing in the halls with holding a bunch of flyers?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we weren't allowed to have our booth. We actually have a picture of Dave. I mean, the booth was just empty. People put other stuff on the table, so we got a picture of Dave sitting at it empty. But I mean, it's open to the public. You have to buy a ticket, but we went on the web and we bought the general admission tickets, and we went and just stood there in front of the main hall and handed out these flyers that we made. And a lot of people were very, very interested in talking to us. The media too, but just the people there. I think Dave did. I stopped counting at 14 interviews with national media, and I did a couple also. But yeah, I mean, it was. This is a big story. That there is a contingent of atheists within the conservative constituency, and it's something that I think they've been ignoring for a long time, and it's to their detriment to ignore this.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them, and it's just growing.
I'm fascinated by this whole thing. And now you said that you met a lot of atheists there. Did they just come out and tell you, "Hey, I'm atheist too"? Or I mean, how do you find that out?
Yeah, I would say, in my estimation, about 50 people did that.
Really?
Now remember, there's 10,000 people there, so it's But out of the people that we talked to, handing out somewhere around 500 or 600 flyers, I would guess about 50 people tell us that they're atheists, and then they took a flyer and so on. But we also had people who were not ready to call themselves atheists, but were interested in what we were doing and were asking us questions about it and about American atheists and so on. We had one woman who, and this is I think more of what might be going on, behind the scenes in general at this sort of thing. I tried to give her a flyer as she was walking by. She was with a group of her friends, and she refused it. And then later she came back by herself and wanted one. She just didn't want to take it in front of her friends. But yeah, I mean, I think we see that with atheism all the time, that people are interested in it, but they can't, for social reasons, talk about it. But
sure,
yeah,
we get that a lot too, with people not being able to like our Facebook page or whatever. We get people unable to, not feeling comfortable outing themselves.
Yeah, with their family members, right? It's just seeing it, or I totally understand. I mean it's the same thing with us, and I totally get where you're coming from. It's sad that people feel like they can't be honest with the people around them because of those types of discriminatory pressures, and that's why we do what we do, is to get rid of that stigma.
Exactly. Well, did you have fun when you were at CPAC?
It was surprisingly fun. People were very nice to us. We only had two, and I wouldn't even call them incidents. We had two events, I guess, where people tried to preach to us. And it was very minor, and as soon as we said, not interested, it's not going to happen, then they backed off. One person tried to give us she had written on a napkin some verses or something like that.
Oh, that's so helpful.
But, I mean, I know, it's like, thanks. But most people, with the exception of those two, did not treat us that way. They knew what we were, and they knew, or they were interested in why we were there, and they weren't upset about it.
Well, for one thing, they see both you and Dave on their favorite TV channel all the time. So
yeah, I think that probably helps. But I mean, I think that's a step. I mean, this is part of what we're saying as far as the growth of non-religious people in this country. I mean, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, you never would have seen an atheist on there except as a token, like, we've got an atheist and that's the big story.
Right.
But just starting last year, they have this weekly faith panel, as you mentioned on Fox News, with a rabbi and a Catholic representative and Dave representing atheists that discuss just general religious current events.
Which always
And
sounds
they
like
do
a
this
setup to a
every week.
joke, actually, to me.
Right? Yeah, a Catholic. Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, they don't talk about the fact that he's an atheist. They talk about current events having to do with religion, and he gives the atheist perspective,
Right.
which I think is a huge step up for atheist visibility. The fact that they're doing this every week, it's something we never would have seen just a couple of years ago, and they're really starting to recognize that millions and millions of people in this country are atheists, and ignoring them is not a smart move if you are trying to get elected or if you're trying to be a profitable television station or anything like that.
Indeed. Well, that all sounds... I'm just fascinated by CPAC. I want to come out with you next year. Can I come out?
Yeah, you're certainly welcome to. That would be great. We're going to try for a booth again next year. I don't think we're going to get it. I know that Dave had a chat with I think it was actually the president of the board, who made it crystal clear to him that he was not going to allow us to have a booth, is my understanding. But the interesting thing, though, is that from what I understand, talking to people, there is a big disconnect between the older, more rigid, religious conservative people putting on the conference and the people who attend the conference.
Right.
The people who attend the conference, and I heard this more than once, are waiting for them to die so that they can get some reasonable people running this conference. As far as just who aren't trying to push this extremely fundamentalist religious version of conservatism onto conservative politics.
Well, I find it fascinating, and I mean it. I think it would be super fun to come out and just see what it's all about with you guys. So next year.
Yeah, please come. It'll be great. And if we're not allowed to have a booth, we're just going to do exactly what we did this year, which is just buy some general admission tickets and stand out front, inside, but stand out in the hallway and hand them out.
Perfect. Well, before I come to you, you're coming to me.
Yes, that's right. In Salt Lake City on Easter weekend, April 17th through 20th, we have this will be our 40th ever national convention, 51st anniversary. We haven't been to Salt Lake in a long time. Since 1981 was our last time there. And obviously the landscape of American religion has changed drastically in the last 30 years.
You think?
But, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about this. I've actually never been to Salt Lake City. I've been to Utah before. But I think there's a real – I mean, we tend to say when people ask us how we choose where to go for our conventions, we say we go where we need it. We go where people want us to be. And there's so much oppression as far as – and, I mean, it's funny because the Mormon church has this image of being these clean-cut, nice people, and they are. But at the same time, they have this hold on the local people there where you're not allowed to say certain things and you're not allowed to go certain places or do certain things unless you're a Mormon. And it's just I mean, it's assumed that you're a Mormon, and it's very uncomfortable for people who aren't Mormons as far as if you're trying to get a job or if you're trying to go to school. We've heard from many, many people who say that they're an atheist, but they would never tell their parents that because they would get kicked out of the house or kicked out of college. And people who are interested in coming to our conference, but they're they need to make up some excuse for why they're gone Easter weekend, so that they can come because their parents would freak out. It's just such a disconnect between that. Yeah.
We have a Comic Con that weekend, I believe. So,
yeah.
Well,
that would be a good excuse if someone was.
Well, I'll tell you, I will be theoretically expected at my in-laws' place for Easter, and I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna make any excuses. I'm just gonna tell them I'm gonna be at this conference, and we'll let the chip. They're very staunch Mormons, so those chips will fall where they may. And that'll be okay. But yeah, we're definitely going to be there. Frank and I are going to be there. We'll probably do some interviews from there.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll.
Yeah, we'd love to set those up for you. Our keynote, Chris Cluey. This is actually kind of I don't want to get all into this right this second, but he was allegedly kicked off of the Vikings team because of his outspokenness toward LGBTQ equality and marriage equality, and then all of this happened in Utah, the 17 days of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I think we were really lucky to get him as our keynote, and I'm really excited that he's going to be speaking.
Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking of speakers, who else can people expect to hear if they come to the convention?
Oh, we've got a ton of people. Okay, so
don't give me all of them. Just give me your
sure.
top 5 or something.
Denise Stapley is the winner of Survivor Philippines. Mark White is the bass guitarist of the Spin Doctors. David Morrison is the head of SETI. He used to work for NASA. And let's see, David A. Silverman, not our president, David Silverman, who will also be there, but the director, David Silverman, Academy Award nominated director of Monsters, Inc. and The Simpsons movie.
Oh, great.
Matt Dillahunty, Greta Christina, P.Z. Myers, just a ton of people. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Plus, we have workshops and an art show. We have a comedy. We have the list just goes on. If you go to atheists.org on that website, there's a link to the convention page and has all the information.
Perfect.
Cool.
Well, I'm sure that our listeners are excited. We'll have a lot of our people out there stopping by. So when you come out here, I'm buying the first beer. Let us know,
okay.
And we'll hook up. We'll chat with you when you get here.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah,
Thanks.
I really am looking forward to it.
Thanks for coming on the show, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Again for coming on. That was
thank you
great.
very much.
And we'll have him back on the show, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For other.
We need to.
He has many things to talk about. They're doing things over at that American Atheists group. So thanks again for that. And thank you all for listening. If you have any comments, questions, things you want to say to us or about us or through us, you can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Yeah, get your voice on the show. Let us hear you. That'd be good. Or you can even engage with us on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/TGIAtheist. And big thanks to Mackenzie for making sure that runs so well. She does a fantastic job.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mackenzie. And, of course, we like to thank the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music for the opening and closing of the show. And at other times as well. They're just so generous.
They are. And again, if you want to donate to the podcast, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com, click on the support button. And also, I did want to mention, I've got a new goal for our show.
Oh, what's that?
My goal is to get us, we've got quite a few ratings on the iTunes.
Yeah.
In America, we've got 347 people have rated us, 224 people have reviewed us.
Yeah.
I want to get up to 500 ratings. Wow. That is my new goal.
Okay.
So if you are listening to us through iTunes, it would be a big help to us, huge help to us, if you would just give us a rating. And if you want to, leave a review. That's always actually really great.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. And by the way, on iTunes, it would also help us. If you listen on iTunes, click subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just listen one by one. Click subscribe. It helps us out. Makes our show up better on their algorithm and all sorts of things. So.
All right. And then also, over at Stitcher, we happen to currently have a 5-star rating.
Oh.
However, only one person has rated us. At Stitcher. We've never really pushed for anybody at Stitcher to go and rate us. So that 5 stars is dangerous. It's in a perilous situation because somebody could come along and really disrupt that.
Right.
So, if you do happen to listen to us on Stitcher, which is very possible, we have a lot of Stitcher listeners. Please go and give us a star rating.
As a matter of fact, on whatever venue you listen to us on, there's a good chance that you can rate us and that you can subscribe to us, and we greatly appreciate both.
Yes, indeed.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate you showing up, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.